The regular meeting of the St. Helena City Council for January 27, 2015. Mr. Doring, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Sure. Ready? Yes. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. At 5 o'clock, the City Council met in closed session with Council on 2 items for 50 minutes, and there was no reportable action, if I have that right, Mr. Brown?
That's correct, Mr. Mayor. For people in the audience, the council did meet in closed session to discuss those 2 items designated on today's agenda as items 2A and B, conference with legal counsel in existing litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D1. The case is City of St. Helena versus Upper Valley Disposal Service. The second matter, 2B, conference with legal counsel, a matter of anticipated litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D2, significant exposure to litigation in one case. As the mayor said, there was no reportable action taken.
All right. Ms. Black, would you call the roll, please?
Mayor Galbraith?
Here.
Vice Mayor White?
Here.
Councilmember Kroll? Here. Doring?
Here.
Pitts?
The next item on our agenda is public forum. This is an opportunity for members of the public to speak on matters that are not on our agenda this evening. Does anybody wish to speak at public forum?
My name is Bobby Bonet. I'm speaking as a citizen. I have some questions, and I'm not sure how much you can answer because it's public forum. But the first one is I have not been able to get heretofore a clear answer on a protocol issue. At what point in this meeting does the public have a chance to either comment on or pull a consent item? Is it public comment, or is it when that comes up?
My practice will be to give the public an opportunity to comment on a consent item if it's pulled off of consent, and I will ask the public whether it wishes any item to be pulled off, and then it will go to the end, and then the public will have a chance to comment.
What if the public wants to pull an item? At what point do they?
When I go through the consent items one by one, I'll ask whether any member of the council or any member of the public wishes to pull it.
Okay, thank you. Then the other is this one. I don't know if you can answer tonight, but I was just wondering. There's a new mayor and there's a new council person, and I was just wondering if you'll be stating someplace on the city e-news or at some point what the access process will be for you. Will you have office hours? Will the mayor have office hours? Should we email? Should we call? Is there a preference between council members? Should we expect a response? I'm just wondering how we can get that information, and I don't know that you can answer it now because this is public comment.
Well, is there any problem responding to that, Mr. Brown?
No, there's no problem with that.
Okay.
No. For the moment, I would encourage members of the public who wish to get in contact with me to email me at the city email address, and then typically, if we want to meet, I like to go out to coffee.
Okay.
And I certainly have met with everybody that wishes to meet with me.
Will all emails get a response? Will there be an automatic response?
Generally speaking, I respond to all emails. Okay. Sometimes very briefly, but I respond.
To know, I'm not saying anyone should, but just to know what to expect, because some people can't get to them all. So that it would be nice to know. So right. I don't know about the rest of the council.
If I can follow along, Mr. Mayor, I would echo what you're saying. I would have the same policy. You can contact me through the city's email, my email address, or the City of St. Helena. I typically will respond to all emails, dependent upon my law practice and other things. But generally, I will respond. If we need to meet in person, I'd be happy to do that. I will not be holding regular office hours right now. I haven't finally made that decision, but I'm considering that. Unlikely that I will do that, but time will tell. We'll see just how busy I am in my other endeavors.
Okay, thank you.
So. Okay. And I encourage people to send emails to me at any time. I may not be able to get to them right away, but I will get to them eventually. So thank you.
And you can contact me through city email
Okay.
also.
And Sharon?
Okay.
Sharon, is it the same for you?
The city email.
Okay, thank you.
And Mr. Mayor, if I might make a comment,
Yes.
that on their city website, through the departments, they can go to the city council webpage and contact you via your email addresses that are noted on the webpage.
Okay. Yes.
Got here in the nick of time. Three things. One is that there used to be a sign up here that was very encouraging to the audience. Talked about how open and creative the city council was. So I would like to see the sign come back. It disappeared in 2011. Used to be in the corner over there. And even though you can't read it, from everybody in the audience reading it gives you a feeling of nice confidence. Second thing is that I think we would like to have some sort of update on the general plan problem. It can't just be just hanging there and everybody waiting for something to happen. And then the third thing is that I would like to request that the Form 700s of financial disclosure be posted online because the public doesn't realize the importance of those forms, and that will help the transparency cause. And we now have a council that pretty much all work for themselves and have clients and so on, and so that would be very it encourages the public trust, which I think we need, and so that would be very helpful. It's public information in any case. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Jeff Ellsworth, Sylvaner. A couple things were brought up to me that might be good ideas to think about agendizing. One is having a proper cost-benefit analysis for any new projects in town. And the second is to craft some sort of a noise ordinance so that we know that the citizens have some protection written into our city code. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
We have a noise.
Hello, my name is Daryl Cameron. I'm 1357 Elbonita Court. I wrote a little note here, and that way I can keep it down to less than 2 minutes. This is regarding Magnolia Oaks. Tonight, I'm using my 3 minutes to get on the next agenda to discuss the Magnolia Oaks housing being built. I live right next to the housing. I believe that there are 4 illegal homes being constructed. I have the original plans and the layouts, and these 4 buildings are not correct. I have talked with both city building inspectors and planners who have agreed with me, and they were very understanding and very, very good people. And now the attorneys for the city and Rossi are discussing this problem as far as I know. The 4 buildings are large 2-story homes with the granny unit over the garages. They were supposed to be 2 homes with garages only. No granny units, 6 foot outside my backyard fence with 4 windows 10 feet over my 8-foot fence. The granny units completely take all of my views away, meaning no sunshine after 2 o'clock in the afternoon, no more mountains, no more trees. I can't even see the telephone pole. And total access to my entire backyard, pool, and the back of my entire home is completely gone. Privacy is completely missing. And I mean, it is totally gone. So, being a retired contractor, I'm aware now in how they deal with city and county development. In the end, developers usually win and build anyway. I don't know how all this works, but that's generally what happens. Maybe this time, if you guys, and we can all do the right thing and take some action, we can stop this illegal building. And it's not just from my backyard, but generally speaking, but this thing in my backyard is huge, and it's right there, and I got all these windows. I can't use the pool, I can't mow the lawn, I can't do anything without being viewed totally. And these buildings are illegal in the first place. It's supposed to have been 1 house, 1 garage, 2 houses, 2 garages, no granny units. And that's it. So,
Thank you very much. Mr.
Thank you.
Brown, do you have a comment? All right.
We certainly appreciate the comments, and I know that you've been working cooperatively with Mr. Carnelia, and we appreciate that. And I know that any documents you have, any background material, that would be extremely helpful in assisting us in trying to resolve what is happening here.
Thank you.
Further comment at public forum? All right. Reports by staff, if any. Ms. Phillips?
I do. I have a couple of items. I just wanted to provide for the public some timelines. Budget and finance certainly have been an area of topic lately, and so I wanted to be sure that there was some advance notice as to my thought process with regards to some of the financial data coming forward for the city. Director Mitz just completed the certified annual financial report, and that will be coming to council on February 10th. We hope to do a mid-year budget update for the 14-15 fiscal year also on February 10th, but it's taking a little bit of extra work than we had anticipated, so if we can't make that date, we would bring it forward on February 24th. On February 24th, I'll also bring forward the long-range financial forecast, hopefully a 10-year forecast of the city's revenues and expenses. So I just wanted the public and the council to know that that was some of our timelines with regards to financial information for the city. On February 27th, we're planning a goal-setting session. It's a Friday from 9 to 4 with the council. There's some flyers in the back, and we're going to have a little bit more information about that in a minute, but just wanted to alert the public. We'll be sending out blasts and have flyers and information up on the website, but that's a great day to come forward and share with the council priorities that the community may have or things that they'd like to see happen in the future for the city. So that's Friday, February 27th. Another thing that's very exciting is we have a budget survey up. That's also going to be talked about when the community engagement coordinator comes up. Closes on the 31st. To date, we have over 700 responses, which for a city our size is fabulous. So the word's getting out, and we want to thank our community for participating, and there's still a few days left to do that. And the last item is on February 18th, the school district will be hosting an LSAP community meeting to talk about their goals and visions. I've been working with, participating on a planning committee with the superintendent. She invited me to participate. I'll be there that evening helping to facilitate that meeting. It's an opportunity for the community, not just parents, but for the community to come forward and talk about the vision for our school district here in St. Helena. So just wanted to alert the community to that as well.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Brown?
Nothing here.
Ms. Black? Ms. Mitz? And the planning director?
No.
Oh, Mr. Palmer.
Yeah, yes, I do have something to report. I just wanted to make the council aware that next week, city crews are going to start the water main flushing program for this year. It's something we haven't done in a few years in consideration of the drought, but we feel like it's been deferred long enough now. It's an important maintenance tool that we need to maintain fire flows and to water quality. And we've seen some recent surveys from ISO indicate our ratings are going to go down if we don't continue this program. So we're starting to do that next week. I just wanted to let the community know that in case they have any questions, there'll be notices posted on the website, and then we're going to hand deliver notices to some of our more larger users.
All right, and you're doing this at a point where Bell Canyon's essentially full.
Bell Canyon's at almost 98%, 98% full right now. So we're in good shape, and the amount of water we're using is, it's around 0.5% of our total water usage for the year. So,
all right.
Should the community expect anything different with their water quality or quantity during that period of time?
They're going to move progressively from the reservoir and the treatment plant into town and then out towards the edges. And so for the 15, 20 minutes, half an hour, whatever, that crews in the neighborhood opening hydrants, exercising valves, they may see reduced pressure during those times. So if you see the crews in your area, you may want to defer taking a shower or washing clothes. But that's about it.
Well, I in the past, I have experienced much better water quality. I'm at the end of a line, and after it gets flushed, it's much better quality-wise.
Oh, interesting.
Excited that you're doing it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good, excellent. All right, any reports by any member of the council? Mr. White?
Nope. Thank you.
All right. That then takes us to staff briefing. And we're going to talk about the Community Engagement Program budget survey. Ms. Serrano?
And if I might, this is the first time that this council's seen the headline of staff briefing, and this is an opportunity for staff to brief council and the community on an item that doesn't require a longer staff report. We encourage staff to stay to 5 minutes. That's our goal. But it's an opportunity to update the council and community on something like this program, maybe something that's happening, a more, just a shorter update that we think is important. So we hope you enjoy the staff briefing as an addition to our agenda and another way for us to communicate information to you in the community.
So, good evening. Jennifer Baker, the library director, and I've got with me Mario Martinez, who I'll be introducing officially in a second. Just wanted to very quickly bring you up to speed about kind of where we are right now. So, and Cindy's in charge of my slides, so go. So just shortly after Jennifer Phillips took the reins of the city, we had an opportunity created by a new vacancy at the library where we had a chance to move things around a little bit. So if you remember back in September, we came to City Council and proposed creating a new position that would be in the library department but would help to serve the entire city, and that is the Community Engagement Coordinator. And so that position is divided 50-50 between doing the community engagement position, and the other 50% is Spanish language services and other library activities. So we are very excited that we were able to very quickly bring Maria Martinez on board as our community engagement coordinator. And so she and I have been working with Jennifer Phillips to develop the mission and goals and values that we want to make certain that we invest in this process. And we are officially launching with our first project, which is the budget survey. And I just want to be clear about that we are very committed to this process, but it's going to be somewhat modest in our first year. We're making a lot of this up as we go along, since this is our first opportunity to do a full-fledged community engagement initiative. And also because Mari is, as much as I'd love to clone her, she won't part with any of that lovely hair. And so we only get her for 50% of her time for this project. So I'm going to turn things over to her for a minute and let her talk for a second.
Yeah, so great to be back. My name again, it's Mari Martinez. I've seen you a lot in the library, and it's a great opportunity to also work with the city as a community engagement coordinator. So thank you to the City Council and to the residents of St. Helena. And we want to define a little bit more about what we think community engagement is and why we think it's so important. Community engagement is the process of involving people in decisions that affect their lives. It enables good governance and informed decision making. It supports an open process of understanding that builds trust within communities. What is our vision? Next slide, please, Cindy. Thank you. Our vision is to build a strong and effective communication between the residents of St. Helena, the local groups and agencies, and the city government by creating inclusive opportunities, allowing the many diverse opinions and experiences of our community to be represented and considered in governmental process. Jennifer is going to talk about a little bit more about our principles and values of the program.
Slide, please. So we wanted to keep this very simple and to the point. So we have 4 basic principles and values. First is integrity, and by that we mean that we want our engagement process to be transparent and clear in scope and purpose. We want to be inclusive, so our engagement will be accessible and balanced and capturing a full range of values and perspectives. We want to encourage dialogue, so the engagement will promote open, genuine discussion. It will be supported by timely and accurate information, and it will create space to weigh options and develop common understanding. And also influence, which is engagement will be reflected in the outcomes, and the community will be able to see and understand the impact of their involvement. So it's not just going to be lip service. So next slide, please. Our initial actions, we've been consulting with staff and the community to identify and prioritize prime opportunities to solicit and include community input. So we worked with our finance director, April, and identified that we wanted to use the new budget coming up as our first opportunity to launch a community engagement effort. So we developed a survey with the help of the other department heads to identify some areas of our budgets that would benefit most from public input. And so that's how we created the survey that Maury is going to tell you about.
Well, this community survey of priorities input, it's basically for people to be able to give their opinions about prioritization of services. Where you can find the survey, very easy. It's on the library website, www.shpl.org, and in the city's website, www.cityofsthelena.org. How long will this survey will be available? It will be available until this Saturday, upcoming Saturday, January 31st. Everybody has the opportunity. We still have a couple of days, and it's also bilingual. It's in English and Spanish. We will. How will this information be used? As Jennifer Phillips mentioned, the department heads will use this information to build and justify the budget request to present to City Council. We plan to release another survey on another topic around the month of March. If anyone would like a little bit more information about our development of the community engagement program, feel free to email me at mari@shpl.org. I will spell it out. It's MARI@shpl.org, and I would like to tag along a little bit of what Jennifer Phillips mentioned. We would like to invite everyone to mark in their calendars, very important, Friday, February 27th, the goal setting input session, and it would be from 9 a.m. till 4 p.m. And we have the flyers printed out right here. And stay tuned because there's more information coming up as the agenda will be released. Thank you.
Can you tell people where that's going to be?
It's going to be in the firehouse starting 9 a.m. till 4 p.m. And the flyer, it's in the image. And also people could sign up to the City e-News to receive the emails and more information about this, the survey, and other programs and projects of the city. Thank you.
Okay.
Is there any other questions?
No, I thought that was a very clear presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll be seeing you soon.
Okay. Next, we have consent items, and as I indicated, I'm going to read them off, and if any member of the council or any member of the public wishes to pull an item, let me know. 9 is consideration of amendments to Title III, Chapter 3.20 of the City of St. Helena Municipal Code relating to real property transfer tax. Number 10, consideration of rejecting non-responsive bid from Bino Construction and award St. Helena Sewer Main Cleaning and TV Inspection Project 2014 to Coastline Water Resources, Inc. in the amount of $79,000 plus change. Next one, 11, consideration of resolution approving agreement for consultant services with Larry Walker Associates for National Pollution Discharge Elimination System permit compliance services in the amount of $21,570. Item 12, consider second reading and adoption of amendments to the city's zoning ordinance section 17.144 relating to affordable housing with a long description. And on that, there are a couple of administrative changes that Ms. Black pointed out to me at the beginning of the hearing, and they relate to attachment A. And under I, which is on page 4, second sentence, it should read, at the conclusion of said hearing, the Planning Commission voted to recommend that the City Council adopt the ordinance. And then same page, section 3, where it says Exhibit A, it should be section 1. Did I get that right, Ms. Black? All right. It should say Exhibit 1, yeah. Number 13. Consider second reading and adoption of amendments to the city zoning, St. Helena Municipal Code, Chapter 17, zoning of the city's municipal code in order to bring the relevant sections of the city's zoning code into compliance with state requirements, which then are enumerated in the notice. 14, consideration of a resolution approving a contract in the amount of $13,600 to retain the housing planning consultant Christine O'Rourke to complete the work necessary to finish the city's 2014-2015 housing update. And 15, consideration of resolution approving an agreement with Bernanza Wolf Associates, Inc. to conduct a feasibility analysis and comparison of sites for new affordable housing development for a total not to exceed amount of $45,260. All right, we'll pull it. Well, we'll come back to it. 16, consideration of resolution setting a hearing to approve the annexation of territory into the St. Helena Municipal Sewer District Number 1, MSD Annexation Number 117, with property identification. Okay, so it seems to me that the chair will entertain a motion at this point.
Well, I would like to pull one.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I wanted to allow you to finish.
Okay.
Number 14, I think this would be an opportunity for Mr. Carnelia to lay out sort of the schedule. There's a schedule for the housing element completion that's set forth here, and raised in my mind, and I know a member of the public raised the same issue as to, do we have a general idea of what our schedule will be in the next several months to review and finalize or do something else with the general plan update?
Well, before we get there, let's have a motion with respect to the items that aren't pulled, and then we'll go to the pulled items, if that is.
So I make a motion to approve 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 16.
I second.
Ms. Black?
Vice Mayor White,
Yes.
Councilmember Doring,
Yes.
Kroll,
Yes.
Mayor Galbraith.
Yes. So let's go to 14, which is consideration of a resolution approving a contract in the amount of $13,600 to retain the housing planning consultant Christine O'Rourke with respect to the 2014-2015 housing element update. And Mr. Doring, you had a question of staff?
Yes.
All right, maybe.
Sure. Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. In terms of issues of timing, so let me talk about the housing element and the timing upcoming for that from a process perspective, and then talk about the general plan and how that kind of fits or runs on its own schedule. In terms of the housing element, as Council is aware, and lots of other folks that follow this stuff, that the state on a regular basis requires updates to the housing element. This update coming up is for the time period 2014 to 2022. There have been already a number of activities relating to this housing element update, the most notable being a workshop that was held back in April of last year. What's coming forward now to the Planning Commission and then City Council is a draft of the housing element. Really consists of two major components: the needs assessment and the goals and policies. And the needs assessment primarily consists of updating information, putting in the new state RHNA numbers, et cetera. And in terms of the goals and policies, that's been informed or primarily informed by the workshop that occurred last year. The focus of these upcoming and the really workshops at both the Planning Commission on February 17th and City Council on February 24th is for the Commission and Council to determine as to whether the both the information as contained in the needs assessment and whether the adjustments, modifications to the policies are adequate and appropriate. Once that is done, then we will submit the housing element to the state for a 60-day review. Then we will get comments back from the state, and on May 5th we have scheduled a hearing at the Planning Commission, and this will be a full public hearing for the Commission to consider recommending to City Council adoption of the housing element. Then the housing element itself will be coming to City Council for action on May 26th. So those are the time frames. The deadline we're running up against is a May 31st deadline for the city to adopt the housing element based on what the state is calling their streamline program. So at any rate, that's kind of a quick overview of the housing element update process. In terms of the general plan, and the housing element is part of the general plan, but given the state requirements for frequent updates, it's been every 4 years. It's going to be going to every 8 years. General plans tend to have a longer shelf life, although they need to be reviewed and updated periodically. As council is aware, the city began its general plan update. The current general plan dates back to 1993. The update process began back in roughly 2008, 2009, and the council had recommended a draft of the general plan in late 2010. Then subsequent to that, there were a number of amendments to the plan, a number of additional both commission and council meetings, with the upshot of those being that in July of 2014, council had essentially completed, lack of a better way of describing, kind of a second review of the general plan as put together back in late 2010. Subsequent then to that, the state law requires that any changes that the city council is considering to the general plan be reviewed by the Planning Commission. So in September, October, I believe it was completed by November, the Planning Commission did just that. They reviewed the general plan text and made a number of recommendations to City Council about the various edits and changes proposed to the general plan. So the next step then is to bring the general plan to City Council for adoption. And with that, I'll be bringing forward the various comments from the Planning Commission. The challenge and right now the task that is currently underway and needs to be addressed to get to that hearing is to update the environmental document. Unfortunately, as council is also aware, environmental documents over time need to be updated. The general plan, when it was being looked at in 2010, 2011, there was an EIR prepared. Actually, the EIR was initiated back in, I believe it was roughly 2009. So what the city has is a environmental document that simply needs to be updated in terms of a variety of essentially informationally is probably the best way to describe it, and to reflect current conditions. For example, a significant part of the data in there ties back to the 2000 census. Obviously, the 2010 is better to use, et cetera. And the challenge I've been working with the last probably 45 days plus or minus is to come up with a way of doing that that is cost effective. The original environmental firm that did the EIR, the principals that worked on the city's EIR are no longer with that firm. They've kind of scattered. So I've gotten proposals from the main principal that was in charge of the environmental document. But at this point in time, the cost of that work is really over and above what we can handle budget-wise. The estimate's right now around $150,000. And so I'm in the process of working with those consultants to see if we can get the number down to come up with a good defensible document, but perhaps not $150,000 worth. In hindsight, it would have been maybe a bit cleaner if back in when the council was looking at the general plan in 2010, 2011, the EIR had been at least certified. And then we would just be looking at an addendum, which is a little bit cleaner and could be done more cost effectively. At any rate, with that kind of as a preamble, based on my kind of ongoing negotiations and scoping the update of the document, I'm hoping that by essentially April, we will have May, we'll have a new draft EIR, and then that would be circulated for review and then comments received. We still need to, it really depends on the amount of the updates in terms of which sections of the EIR, if any, we decide to recirculate. And clearly recirculation is going to affect the overall timing. So depending on recirculation, how involved that is, we should be able to come back to council in early summer, June, July, for hearings on the general plan itself. So that's perhaps a little longer than people would like, but it's simply necessary to get to the procedural steps and to do so in a cost-effective manner. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Let me open the public hearing on this item.
Sandy Erickson, Scott Street. With all due respect to the city and all the hard workers that they employ, there was a general plan approved in 2010 by the Planning Commission. And the city took 4 years to pick it apart. And not without substantial opposition. There is state code that says that the general plan process should be completed within 2 years, and state code that says that the city has to report to the state every 2 years on the progress with the general plan. To my knowledge, neither of those have happened. I don't see why this city council cannot approve the general plan that was approved by the Planning Commission in 2010 and then amend it. If it needs an EIR update, that can happen after adoption. But in the meantime, we have applicant after applicant after applicant going for anything they can get because there is no printed word that prevents them from doing so. We are a city without a rudder. And I submit that it's way more important to have a rudder that had the full support of the city and its people than it is to let this situation go on another 6 months. It's intolerable and absolutely, I think, illegal.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Does staff wish to further comment at this time? Is there any other further public comment?
Well,
I'll close public comment.
Just real quickly, I mean, the reality is without the new plan in place, the city can fall back on and is falling back on the 1993 general plan. Aside from that, the city has a number of specific plans relating to the Highway 29 area, the downtown, et cetera, which those date back to 2000s. I believe the Highway 29 plan is a 2004-2005 plan. So there are more recent policy documents that provide guidance, but it is correct. The underlying rudder, for lack of a better way of describing it, is that 1993 plan.
If I might just clarify as well, Mr. Mayor, the City Council may not, consistent with CEQA, take action to adopt a general plan without first certifying an environmental document. CEQA requires that happen at the same time. The environmental review document cannot be deferred until after the adoption of the underlying general plan.
All right. One miscellaneous question of you, and that is there anything in the recent state legislation relating to groundwater that impacts either the general plan or the CEQA document?
The short answer, excuse me, the short answer to that question is I don't know.
Okay.
We, as part of the EIR scoping, one of the efforts is to look specifically at that issue in terms of the whole question of groundwater as part of the water analysis. So when the general plan is before you, we will have an answer to that, but unfortunately I don't have an answer today.
Fair enough. It's a new piece of legislation. All right.
I'll move approval for item 14, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Ms. Black?
Councilmember Doring?
Yes.
Kroll?
Yes.
Pitts?
Absent, not here.
White?
Yes.
Mayor Galbraith?
Yes. All right, that takes us to item 15 that was pulled at the request of Ms. Manette. Ms. Manette, would you address it, please?
I thought there was a way to comment on that without pulling it so that we wouldn't have to make another motion, but is that possible to?
It's much, this is within
easier?
my discretion
Okay.
here, and I feel this is the orderly way to go.
Okay, fine. I just wanted to say to thank the city for the movement on this issue. It's been on the books for a long time. A grant was passed a couple of years ago at least, and I just wanted to express some appreciation for that movement. So thank you.
Very well. Is there any further public comment with respect to item 15? At this point, the chair would entertain a motion to approve it.
Move to approve 15.
Ms. Black?
Vice Mayor White?
Yes.
Councilmember Kroll?
Yes.
Doring?
Yes.
Mayor Galbraith?
Yes. And it's 6:47. That's pretty good for us. 6:43. That's pretty good for us. So at this point, I'll declare the meeting adjourned. Thanks, everybody, for coming.
We definitely get the prize.
Always good.